And I don't even have that on the record, so no one is going to know that you're actually licensed to kill and are going to kill me.
No, I'm licensed to kill fish.
You're licensed
not people.
to kill fish. Right. You have a fish-killing license, have you?
Only specific fish.
Only specific. Fishy. I don't know what we're doing.
We are recording a podcast.
Okay then, and then you're going to kill me.
No, I don't have a license to kill you.
Right.
Only specific fish.
Specific fish. I didn't think there was any such thing as a fish.
That's why you have to get specific.
Right. Okay, let's get started.
Colin had a problem and a microphone to spare. Thomas took it up and so the podcast went to air. For weeks and months they trolled through every single DVD. They've unwrapped all the ones they can and now they're cellulose free. Now they're cellulose free.
Hello dear listener and welcome to Cellulose Free. My name is Colin and with me as always is my fellow film watcher, compadre and son, Thomas.
Hi, hello.
What have you been up to?
I'm back on the grind.
Yay!
Doing...
Tell our dear listener exactly what you've been up to.
All manner of uninteresting Desert Bus for Hope stuff that I can't really get into detail about.
All of these non-disclosure agreements that you have signed, whereby if you fail to follow them, you will be hunted down and have fish set upon you.
I suspect the only thing that would happen is I wouldn't be looked on particularly kindly.
I don't look upon you particularly kindly, so,
well,
it's something you're probably used to.
Well, at least...
Thomas, I don't mean that. I love you dearly. You're my favourite eldest son. No one will usurp you. Unless something untoward happens and then the next eldest son becomes the eldest son, who will automatically become my favourite because he'll be my eldest.
The good news is that I'm not bogging down this segment with needless waffle.
Good.
How about you?
What, is that it?
Yeah, that's...
What about that long walk you took?
No, it wasn't that long a walk, for starters.
What, you went for a
last
walk?
Week.
Oh, you went for a walk last week?
Yeah.
That's... Yes.
That's part of my excursion.
Your voyage of discovery. What have I been up to? It was Plasma Week. It was Turn Off the Phone Week.
That's every week.
Yeah. Do you think I remember every week?
No.
No.
No, this is borne out in the recording.
The borne out identity. Good. Yes, Plasma Week and a milestone. So 150 donations, which is kind of exciting. Not all of those were plasma. I think it was like 116, or 117 were plasma. Anyway, it worked out to about 112 litres of plasma so far, which is a fair amount.
Especially all at once. Good going there.
Yeah, don't be doing that. I can say that is more than my body weight. Yes. I can safely say that. And took some more photos and tried out a lens that I hadn't got round to trying out. And that was fun, being challenged by only having a particular focal length that is quite sharp, but you've got to move yourself back and forth to get images in shot. Other than that, no, nothing is really springing to mind. I'm sure that a whole heap of things have happened.
Really? Not that thing over there?
What thing over where?
On the wall?
Oh, I got a photo printed. That was an interesting exercise too. Yes. Okay, here's the story. So we've got this blank space in the kitchen, and I thought Wendy had expressed a particular like of a particular image, and it happened to be in black and white. So I thought, oh, that's easy enough to do. I'll just whip that off to a certain office supply place that prints such things, and should be able to do it on a fairly reasonable budget because it's black and white. So chose a cheap option.
Yeah.
And went in and collected it. I paid for it online and then went in and collected it a couple of days later. And went and grabbed a frame and was sitting in a eating mall type things with there weren't a lot of people around. So I'm unpacking the frame and lifting everything out and then unrolling the image and sticking it into the frame and turning it over and going, oh, that's good. Oh, and yeah, it looked decent from afar, but the closer that you got, there was a really fine white line.
Right.
Every 2.5 centimetres. And I thought, okay, I know that I've chosen the cheap option.
Yeah.
But there was certainly no mention of this being a feature of the cheap option. But it really stood out. So I thought, right. So I went back to this office establishment and said, look. And, oh my goodness, the person that served me was rude and abrupt and obviously had a bad day, which was doubly unfortunate because the person who was trying to help me initially was very, very pleasant, but she was new, so didn't know all the ins and outs.
Yeah.
And you could tell that the other senior person was quite frustrated with the fact that they were trying to teach this person how to do things and was very short and abrupt with them and very short and abrupt with me and said, oh, that's because of this. And I said, no, look at the file. And so they opened it up and looked at the file. No, they're not. It's not on the file. No, it isn't on the file. Said, it's because you did this. And well, no. And okay. And finally, they actually gave a reason that made sense. First, they said it's because it's the cheap paper, and I said, well, that doesn't make sense. The paper doesn't influence it. It's because of the printer. And I said, yeah, okay, we're getting closer here. Yeah. The printer that we use for that kind of layout is a very quick printer, usually used for plans. And so it does a 2.5 centimetre wide print each.
Yep.
And then shifts the paper and does another 2.5 centimetre 1 inch strip. And obviously it's not calibrated well enough because there's this white line. But apparently that's fine for plans and what have you. And I'm thinking, well, it didn't say anything. I ordered a poster and I was in the poster section. I wasn't in the plans section. I said, okay, so how do we fix this? And I said, oh, well, you can't. Okay, how can we fix this? And she and got the person who was in charge of her, who came over, and then we went through the diagnosis again and came up with other variables that might have caused it. No, that doesn't make sense. And finally got to the fact that, no, it's the printer that was used. And, okay, we're back to the actual reason what has caused that. So I could see myself not getting anywhere and thinking, okay, I'm basically going to have to re-request the file to be printed in the next version up. And she explained, yeah, that's probably the best thing to do because it uses another printer entirely that doesn't have that line. Okay, so I paid 3 times as much.
Right. For
a second print on thicker paper, a surface treated. Anyway, it came out great, but this other person had such a bee in their bonnet. And when I finally got to paying for the non-striped version, it was all handed back to the trainee. And so aggro stomped off into the corner with the other person and we were chatting and said, thanks. And then the trainee looked at me and I looked at them and I said, oh, what a joy. And they nodded and I said, okay, let's pay for this and I'll be back in a couple of hours. the machine that they needed to print the replacement on had different paper in it, and it was in the middle of something, and so there was a bit of a wait. So I went back out into the wild world and had some lunch and came back, and all is better. But I weep for that trainee and anybody who was working around this person who just absolutely emanated a bristling and an aggroness of "don't bother me."
Ah, the retail malaise.
Yes. And I really did bite my tongue, because I certainly don't believe in the mantra, the customer is always right. But the flip side of that is that I really don't like being lied to. And there was a whole bunch of lies that, for someone who doesn't know what's going on would probably be accepted. But no, I know my printing methods, and I knew that it was a risk. But as I said, I was ordering a poster, not a plan. And so it should have been of reasonable quality.
Frankly, even if I hadn't known what I was doing, I wouldn't have accepted any of those excuses, because it's clearly wrong.
Yeah. And now I've got my hackles up,
Yeah.
Thomas. I should have just forgotten about the picture on the wall, even though it does look very nice, if I do say so myself. We have a film to watch.
Would you say you are experiencing a blind fury?
I am an absolute blind fury, as opposed to a blind furry, which my furry persona is a blind mole rat.
Right.
Yeah. What are we watching today, Thomas?
We are watching Blind Fury.
We are. Would you tell our dear listener what Blind Fury is all about?
Rutger Hauer is Nick Parker, a Vietnam vet who returns home after years missing in action, minus his sight, but with lethal new skills as an expert swordsman. Skills that will be put to the test when he tries to rescue an old army buddy who's deep in trouble with the mob.
Well, that's what we're watching. We are watching it on glorious DVD. Thomas is going to take the DVD out of its rattly case.
It's not that rattly.
It's been rattly all through this entire episode. Stop that! It's like fingernails on a chalkboard. He's going to take it out of its case.
Why?
I don't know.
We're
Well,
still
so that we can watch
recording.
it. Then we're going to watch it, and we're going to come back and talk about it afterwards. So we shall catch you on the flip side.
Turn to side B.
What was that?
A car, I think.
Side B.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll turn to side B then.
Yeah, go on.
Yeah. Good, you mongrel. So what did you think?
That was...
Sorry. Yes.
That was... all right.
As far as late 80s schlock is concerned.
And,
Oh dear.
and not just schlock, but adapted schlock.
Yeah. Adapted, which you can actually watch on Tubi.
Now, is that the films or the TV series?
I know that the TV series is on Tubi, but the movies, I'm not sure. I did watch the first episode. What are we talking about here?
We are talking about Zatoichi.
Yes.
Over the course of about 11 years, they made 25 films, as I believe tends to happen in Japan, especially around that time period of the 60s,
60s into 70s,
yeah.
yep.
And then they went away for 16 years and made one more.
Yeah. And 4 seasons of a TV series as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which involves a nomadic blind monsieur
Yes.
who wanders into a war-torn town where he slashes through scores of its villagers' tormentors before taking on a crime boss.
The character, perhaps more properly, is just called Ichi, Zato being a title meaning low-ranking blind man.
A lowly blind man. He is...
Blind men, already, culturally, considered quite low.
Yes.
And this is the lowest rank of blind men.
Mm-hmm. However, he has a singular set of skills.
He has multiple skills, to be honest.
Yes.
And this was an adaptation of one of the films in the middle of that long run of films.
Mm-hmm. I have watched some of the TV series many years after watching this film, but this is the first time I have seen it since probably 1990, I reckon I watched it. I watched it when it came out on video with your Uncle David, and we had a good laugh with it. A good laugh at the level of, this is just popcorn fun. And it is, except I don't recall how jarringly, I guess, unbalanced it can get on occasions, where there is a very much comedic element, and then you've got people being garroted with this very, very sharp implement, and yet there's very little blood, and...
Except on the sword.
Yeah, except on the sword. So there's this balancing act that is attempted to being done to get a certain rating, so that it gets lots of audience attending. If you have it too violent or too sweary, it goes up a notch in the classification and you lose your target audience. So it did quite a balancing act there that toppled over on occasions, I think.
Yeah. Especially in the back half, it does let a little looser on the furriness.
Yes, they certainly play that furry word for all its comedic effect.
To the result that if the aim was to keep the rating down, they failed. It got an R in the US.
Yeah. I mean, at the time that it came out, I think that R is actually what they were going for. Around that time, their R was basically our M. So it got an M classification in Australia, whereas it probably would get probably still an M. Yeah, it wouldn't quite notch up into an MA15 plus.
The reality here is that you can get away with an awful lot at an M rating.
Yeah, but I don't think, as far as my memories, I certainly don't recall it being a perfect film at all. It was just a popcorn movie, but I don't recall so many sets that felt paper thin, where cameras are shot tightly so that they don't have to build half of the walls, and those walls that they do build shake quite considerably on occasion. I mean, ideally for people to fall through them and what have you, but yeah. The budget was, I don't think, terribly grand, and so they reserved it for, I guess, shooting up the gondola, which I'm guessing was probably a closed... Yeah, anyway.
Reasonably comprehensible action.
Yeah.
Once the lights go out, it's like, okay, it's not going to be comprehensible no matter how you cut it, really. But
once the lights go out, but there's certainly plenty of light for the camera to actually show what's going on. It's a tricky one, that one.
Yeah.
A decent enough car chase, a screeching of brakes, and it's just so solidly 80s, especially with having a kid in tow. So many movies of that time would have a big action-type tough guy with a kid being dragged along, and I guess developing and coming of age during that. I got you to watch a coming-of-age film. Not quite in the strictest of sense, I don't think.
As wandering fighter stories go, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah. I was seriously concerned about how much of my feelings about it, my one single viewing of it, or two maybe we watched it twice, is more nostalgia linked having been away for a couple of years, and I think this was one of the first films I sat down with my brother, who actually had become human by that stage. Wasn't quite the bratty little younger brother anymore, and yeah, we could enjoy that. So certainly steeped in nostalgia, and it wasn't entirely that made a rewatch today, I think, worthwhile. It's pretty rubbish, but fun enough. Yeah. But as for getting your hands on it, I certainly had to track it down on a DVD probably about a year ago. And it's taken me this long to bring myself to see whether it was actually watchable or not. So do you have anything else you wish to say about Blind Fury?
No, not really.
The only other thing that I want to say is that Rutger Hauer did a good job of being blind, I thought. Mm-hmm. It was good. All right then. Well, we might move on then.
The following segment has no title. Thank you.
That follow-up that I've put in the document was already covered in the show notes last week.
It was indeed.
It was.
Yes. We might as well repeat it.
As far as metro buses go, if they have the destination sick bay, it's probably because there's a problem with the bus itself, and its destination is in fact the quote-unquote sick bay.
Yeah, waiting for servicing.
Yeah.
I'd suspected it was something like that, and I did Google, and I'm presuming that you did a Google.
Yeah, we probably found the same article.
Yeah, I think it was the equivalent of a bus driver's bulletin board, wasn't it?
Yeah, a forum of Australian transport enthusiasts.
Oh, look, it was a deep dive, I tell you. I spent hours learning about different engine configurations. And
I got wrapped up in the story of some guy who was convinced that we should bring trolley buses back to Hobart.
Yes, that would be a great thing.
Yeah.
Not.
Our one comment this week, I did check.
Good.
And turns out only the one comment, which is fine.
It is fine.
Is from Helen.
Hi, Helen.
Who says, comment in haste as I try to listen to the episode and comment before tonight's viewing starts.
Were you doing this whilst walking? Were you creating this comment while you were walking? That is my question.
The sunrise/sunset times image that Thomas ordered, which was delayed, or which the tracker was being unhelpful about, I am pretty sure, from the markings on the box that it came in, that it was the tracker being unhelpful. So I went and got it this time last week, and it had on it 4/10.
Yeah.
The 4th of October was some time before this time last week.
Somewhat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I still have no idea when it actually arrived. As far as I'm aware, though I've not checked in a bit, the tracker is still convinced that it hasn't even arrived in the Hobart office works.
It's like episode ? Where I ordered a hamburger online and then waited outside the hamburger place for it to pling my phone to say that it was ready. And my phone didn't pling and didn't pling. And then I finally went in and there it was, cold and, yeah. Look up episode ?
All of which is to say that Helen thought that my print was awesome.
And it is.
Or at least she liked it.
Yeah. I am assuming that you put a link in the show notes.
Yes, to several images.
Wow. From 47 different angles.
Yeah, I took a picture of it up on my wall, and also from the front, and also a photo of every side.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Good.
I note, Helen continues, that Nosferatu should have turned to side B. I can just imagine him saying mongrel on hearing the outcome of his choice.
I reckon he did say mongrel.
I have scouts on the night you record, and so the rain of which you spoke arrived just as I got home with a couple of kayaks to wash. Needless to say, I got damp.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Helen, I'm just trying to visualise the fact that you were in kayaks, in the water, and once you got out of the water, and the kayaks out of the water, then you got damp.
Yeah.
Good.
I think I've read about the scenario in Unstoppable, but I don't think I've seen the movie. But with my brain, who knows?
Who knows?
She has provided a guess.
Mm-hmm.
She is going with Unstoppable.
Yeah.
UNSTPBBL. and is not going to think about possible alternatives.
I'm
There is some trouble with this.
There is some trouble with...
not least of which that's more bees than there in the title of the film.
Yeah.
And as such, it is almost, but not correct.
Yeah.
Colin actually went with unstoppable,
Yeah.
with an A
With an
instead
A.
of the first B there.
Which, I confess, does make more sense to me.
Yeah.
With that last sentence in brackets, and I am not going to think about possible alternatives. I suspect if you'd looked back, it probably happened just as you were about to hit a telegraph pole, as you were walking and typing, because, that double B has me perplexed. That was the double P's. So, unfortunately, Helen, our only guesser, goes away empty-handed.
Yep.
No arbitrary points for that guess. But this week, having watched Blind Fury, I'm showing Thomas what 8 letters or numbers in a 8 letters or numbers or less file name that encapsulates the very essence of Blind Fury.
That is the letter that I would have removed.
Oh, are you suggesting I only removed one letter, Thomas?
You did, in fact, only remove one letter.
Wow.
Which makes for a really, really narrow search space for our dear viewers.
It does.
Listeners. They may be on YouTube. I don't know.
Yeah, everyone will be wanting the video stream. That's only for our platinum Patreon members.
I don't want to have to get dressed for these things.
Yeah, I wish you would, though. Having to podcast with you naked beside me can be quite disturbing. Anywho, so please have a guess at what this week's file name is, or let us know or what film we really need to watch. We would love some suggestions as to what to watch. We've got a nice collection of suggestions that we will continue to draw upon, but any suggestions will be great. I am disappointed that nobody provided their favourite Pantone colour. There were 5 bonus arbitrary points there up for grabs. And
Well, they are arbitrary.
they are, but you missed out. Sorry.
Also, any other comments in all the usual places.
Yep.
And not on a random Australian transport forum. We're not going to find them there. And your post is probably going to be chucked out by confused moderators.
I reckon. What's this all about? I don't know. Maybe he's talking about the 63 Bedford. Anyway, we shall move on then.
Pick a film for next week so we can go to bed.
And it's your turn.
It is my turn. And ostensibly...
We're all out of apes.
We are all out of apes that I'm wanting to bring to this podcast. Ostensibly, next week, being the spooky week. I'm not going to say the week of Halloween, because...
The month of Halloween.
You would have caught the start of the Australian import of Halloween, wouldn't you?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. The staggered start.
Yeah.
There would be years where in the large department store that I worked in, depending on who was in charge of the Australia-wide company, would determine whether we might get some Halloween stuff in, or the years when we didn't get Halloween stuff in, and then people would say, "Where's your Halloween stuff?" We don't celebrate Halloween in Australia. Oh, but I do. Gee, I'm doing a lot of voices today. Yeah, but I think I've just worn everyone down, and it's a thing. I still have on my phone a photo that I took in utter disgust of a huge display stand of massive plastic pumpkins.
Yeah.
$49 each.
Yeah.
And the fact that the amount of plastic that went into that to make them, the amount of fuel that was used to transported from China to a country that hasn't recognised any significance as far as Halloween is concerned, and it's it gripes me.
It's the wrong time of year.
Yeah,
It's an autumnal festival.
exactly.
And here we are, back half of spring.
Yeah. I mean, sure, we still stick Christmas lights up, even though the sun doesn't go down until 10 o'clock at night. Anyway, so...
So ostensibly, at this time of year, quote unquote, at this time of year, I should be bringing something, spooky or off-kilter.
You should be.
To the table.
Yep.
I went to my first option. My first option falls through because my options for that option are the Murdoch's various platforms or Paramount Plus.
Right.
And I'm not interested in a subscription to either of those at this stage.
No.
So that's not happening.
Whatever that was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead, I'm pretty sure this is going to be coming off the shelf.
Right.
This film is from 1999.
Right. Is it stop motion?
It is not stop motion. This is a live-action film.
Right.
We have already done The Nightmare Before Christmas
I was going to say...
on this podcast.
Good. All right.
This is a live-action film from 1999.
I would suggest that that's not one of the memorable ones then. Sorry, it is a live-action movie from 1999.
Yep.
Okay.
It stars Haley Joel Osment.
Ah, good. Excellent.
And Bruce Willis.
Ah. No, I've got nothing.
Oh.
Hang on. I'm hearing something. Someone's whispering in my ear. You probably don't see him because he's dead. But... Oh. Yeah, huh? And you don't have a sixth sense, so you wouldn't be able to hear it either. Mm-hmm.
Now, I've not seen The Sixth Sense, but through cultural osmosis...
Haley Joel osmosis.
I do know what happens in The Sixth Sense.
Yeah. I think as far as movies with a twist that we don't talk about, except we've just mentioned that there's a twist, so everyone will be looking out for the twist. I think that really started the ball rolling in a major way as far as movies with twists are concerned. Sixth Sense.
Yep.
That's what we're going to watch for our culturally appropriated seasonal episode.
It's not so much that we appropriated it, it's that the Americans rammed it down our throats.
Yeah, I don't know how much ramming they did or how much the Australian retailers decided, oh, that's another thing that we can make money on. But Sixth Sense, next week. We hope that you can join us, but until then... We'll catch you next time.
Bye.
You have been listening to Cellulose Free. Your hosts were Colin, who produces and edits the show, and Thomas, who makes the artwork and music. Cellulose Free is recorded in the Deranged Cat Studios in scenic Tasmania, Australia. We keep track of our extensive physical media collection through My Movies, which we highly recommend. You can find links to that, as well as other places you can find us in the show notes. Cellulose Free is a Hi Hello production.
Oh, except we didn't give a plot synopsis.
Eh.
Do we need to?
Nah.
Everyone knows what...
Yeah. We just talked about how everyone knows.
Yeah, kids sees dead people.
It's not a problem.
I'm stopping.
Yeah, seems fair.
Yeah.
No, I'm off doing my own thing, don't...
Thomas is just
look at
off doing his own
Don't
thing.
look at me.
Don't look at me. Don't look at the man behind the curtain.